Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about 7 places that your money needs to go. The goal of this video is for you to walk away with an optimal saving strategy that will allow you to start building wealth for your future while also covering the expenses of your present. The vast majority of people spend no time at all thinking about how best to use their money. This leads to suboptimal money decisions which, if left unchecked, pose a significant financial threat. This video will teach you how to avoid that. So the first place that your money needs to go is into your pension. To avoid any confusion, when I say the word pension, I'm referring to the facility that your employer has made available to you for the purposes of investing for retirement. You put money into your pension in order to have enough money to maintain a good standard of living throughout your retirement. And because the money you put into your pension is being invested, it will grow in value over time to what will hopefully be a very large number that you can live off. Now, there are 2 reasons why this is first on the list. The first being quite logical and the second being more thought-provoking. When you contribute money to your pension from your paycheck, that money nearly always gets sent to your pension before it ever hits your bank account. In other words, your employer sends the money to your pension on your behalf, and whatever is left in your paycheck after doing so gets sent to your bank. So logically, this has to be first on the list because it's the first place that part of your paycheck will be sent to. The second reason why this is first on the list is because I want you to start viewing pension contributions as being mandatory, even though they're not. Part of the reason why people find it so difficult to put money away for retirement is because they've built their lifestyle around their net salary after taxes with no pension contributions. So when they eventually do start contributing money to their pension, they find it very difficult. And that's because they have less money hitting their bank to pay for the lifestyle that they've built up over the years. Now imagine a scenario where you build your lifestyle around how much money you have after mandatory pension contributions have been made. So for example, say your salary is €50,000. I don't want you to view your salary as €50,000. I want you to view your salary as €50,000 minus X thousand euro in pension contributions. And that's the number you build your lifestyle around. So for example, in my country, as I'm under the age of 30, on a salary of €50,000, I could contribute a maximum of €7,500 per year to my pension. So I would see my real salary as €42,500 after maximum pension contributions have been made. And if you can, I would highly encourage you to maximize the amount of money that you're putting into your pension. In our last video, we talked about the European retirement crisis and how 20% of EU citizens are at risk of poverty in retirement. There has never been a more important time in history to invest for retirement than right now. And the more money you invest, the more money you will have to support yourself when you retire. But beyond that, maximizing the amount of money going into your pension is probably the most financially efficient thing you can do. You'll save hundreds of thousands in tax over the course of your working life, and in many cases, you'll receive hundreds of thousands in extra money from your employer on top of your salary. Because if you didn't know, many employers will match whatever you contribute to your pension with contributions of their own up to certain limits. So you could put €5,000 into your pension and your employer might match that €5,000 with 5,000 of their own money. And again, that's on top of your salary. So I highly recommend taking full advantage of this if possible. Moving on to the second place that your money needs to go, your deposit account. This is the bank account into which your paycheck gets paid, and it acts as the central hub for all of your financial activity. Most financial YouTubers, including myself, will constantly remind you that keeping all of your money in a bank account is a bad idea, primarily because inflation will erode its real value over time, which is bad news for future you. Despite this, that's what most people do. Once their paycheck hits the bank, they go into spending mode and no real conscious thought is put into how they could be using that money more efficiently. You're not going to let that happen, but it's inevitable and downright necessary to have at least some amount of money in the bank. And for that reason, I want to briefly talk about choosing the right bank and bank account. Choosing the right bank can really make a difference to how you manage your money. Not only that, but knowing what bank accounts to avoid can actually save you a lot of money in the long run. I'm not really talking about choosing a bank account that pays the highest deposit interest because the vast majority of instant access accounts offer very low rates anyway. Plus, we're not using our bank accounts for the purposes of making money. Instead, I'm talking about choosing banks that have excellent banking technology and avoiding bank accounts that charge high fees or any fees at all. It's no secret that neobanks like Revolut, N26 and Monzo have taken a lot of business away from traditional high street banks, and it's not hard to see why. They offer everything that traditional banks offer, but with the added bonus of far superior banking technology and, in most cases, zero fees. Up until a few years ago, these platforms were mainly used for the convenience of instantaneous transactions between your friends. But nowadays, more and more people are using them as their primary bank account, and honestly, I don't see why you wouldn't. Yes, there is a perception that these banks are somehow more risky than traditional banks, but in reality, your deposits with them are covered by the exact same deposit guarantee schemes that also apply to traditional banks. And when you consider all of the benefits that you're getting, specifically zero cost banking, detailed spending analytics, and automated transactions, it really is a no-brainer. So if you've been with the same traditional bank for years, perhaps now is the time to start thinking about a change. Alright, so the next place your money needs to go is towards the essentials. Now, depending on personal circumstances, the value of the essentials is going to vary, and in many cases, it will vary significantly from person to person. Essentials would include the likes of rent in the case of renters, mortgage repayments in the case of homeowners, grocery bills, utilities, childcare costs. The list could go on and on. Before you do anything with your money, you need to make sure that the essentials are covered. Now, there are two main points to be made here. Number one, you need to be honest with yourself when distinguishing between what's essential and what's nice to have. We will come back to those nice to haves, don't worry, but at this stage, you're only concerned about the true essentials. You don't need me to tell you what's essential. We just covered some of the big ones. So just use common sense and be honest with yourself. Resist that temptation to classify something as an essential when it really isn't. Takeaway food is one of the most common expenditures that I see many people treat as an essential, but it can have a big impact on your wallet over the course of a year if you're getting it multiple times per week. Other culprits are expensive clothes, alcohol, self-care treatments, event tickets, streaming subscriptions. You need to look at all of your expenses with a fine-tooth comb and weed out the non-essentials. Number two, once known, you need to take reasonable action to reduce the cost of your essentials. The reason why I say reasonable action is because I don't want you to fully sacrifice your standard of living today, all in the name of saving money. In fact, inflation is so bad at the moment that it likely won't be possible to save meaningful money on certain essentials. However, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't at least put in the research to see if there are any saving opportunities that you could avail of. Are you getting the best value for money on your utilities? Could you lower your grocery bill by shopping at a different store or by buying off-brand products? Can you remortgage your home with a different lender at better rates? These might be obvious questions, but many people don't even bother to get the answers. The fourth place that your money needs to go is towards your emergency fund. This is oftentimes referred to as a rainy day fund because the money that you're saving is for what's best described as a rainy day. It's money that you hope you never have to use, but you get comfort and financial protection from it being there in the event that you need it. Examples include losing your job, unexpected medical expenses, car repairs, home repairs, pretty much any unexpected event that could come with a financial cost. The emergency fund is there to cover that cost. Now, provided you're not living paycheck to paycheck, you already have some form of an emergency fund. It's just money in your bank account that you don't spend. Your goal is to figure out how much money you need to have in the bank at all times in order to feel comfortable. This is an entirely personal decision. The rule of thumb that every financial advisor references is having at least 3 to 6 months worth of essential expenses in the the bank. So whatever your essential expenses were from earlier, multiply that by between 3 and 6 and work towards always having that amount of money in your bank account. But that's just a rule of thumb. You need to figure out what your number is based on your own personal circumstances. It really is important that you get this number right. If your emergency fund is too big, then you risk having too much cash in the bank, which is wasted potential. If your emergency fund is too small, then you risk not having enough cash in the event of an unexpected financial emergency. In the grand scheme of things, it is better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. But I would still encourage you to try and arrive at your number with pinpoint accuracy. When your paycheck has been fully allocated to all of the places that it needs to go, at that point, all that should remain in your bank account is your emergency fund. That is the most important point. We don't want to have any more cash in the bank than what's needed in order for us to feel comfortable. And that's because we're going to put that cash to much better use elsewhere. Briefly, I just want to mention that if you are currently living paycheck to paycheck, your priority is going to be reducing expenses and building your emergency fund. You can't really go any further without doing that. I would even hold off on pension contributions if it's going to help you to build that emergency fund, because it really is so important. The fifth place that your money needs to go is towards paying off debt, specifically high interest debt. I'm not talking about putting extra money towards paying off your mortgage. I'm talking about paying off any personal loans or credit card debt that you might have. All of these products come with high interest rates, which means more money in the lender's pocket and less money in yours. The reason why it's so important to pay off this debt is because the interest payments alone will significantly reduce your ability to make optimal use of your paycheck. After you've paid for your essentials and covered your emergency fund, you'll find that there's very little left over for anything else if you then have to make costly repayments on high interest debt. Many of you watching will have never taken on high interest debt in your life, and you should do everything in your power to keep it that way. I'm very much against the idea of personal loans and credit cards. These are known as unsecured loan products. If you need these products to buy something, then you can't afford it and you shouldn't buy it. I accept that there might be situations that warrant taking out an unsecured loan. However, it is rare that an unsecured loan is required due to no fault of the borrower. In other words, it's normally a history of bad money management on the part of the borrower that leads to them needing an unsecured loan in the first place. So by applying sensible money management, you should avoid ever needing a personal loan. But if you do find yourself with high interest debt, it's in your best interest to get that paid off ASAP. The sixth place that your money needs to go is towards index funds. Now, I want to preface this by saying that before you look at index funds, and we will explain what they are in a second, you should first maximize the amount of money going towards your pension. Remember, pension investments are the best investments you can make because A, you save a lot of money on tax, and B, you often get free money from your employer. It makes no sense using after-tax money in your bank account to invest in index funds when you could invest more money via your pension, pay no tax, and potentially get extra free money from your employer. I cannot emphasize that enough. Find out what's the maximum amount of money you can put into your pension and work towards hitting that before ever considering investing in index funds. Alright, so an index fund is an investment product that allows you to own hundreds, if not thousands, of other investment products all at once. Imagine you buy one burger for €15. You are fully committing to that one burger from that one specific restaurant. If it turns out to be nice, it was a good decision. But if it turns out to be bad, well, you just wasted €15. All of your eggs are in one basket. The basket in this case being the burger. Now imagine you go to a different restaurant and you give them €15. In return, they give you little pieces of lots of different dishes from different restaurants. Not just burgers, but every food you can imagine. Because you're trying lots of different dishes, it's very likely that some will be winners. Yes, some will be losers, but it's not not as much of an all or nothing decision as paying €15 for one single burger. The same concept applies to index funds. Yes, you could invest €1,000 in Twitter stock, and that could turn out to be a good decision, but you are fully reliant on that one single company's performance. If something should happen to Twitter, well, there goes your money. But by investing in index funds, you can own little pieces of lots of different companies from different countries. This dramatically reduces the likelihood that your investment will suffer a major loss, given that your money is being spread across lots of different company stocks. That's called diversification. Now, I'm not here to convince you that index funds are the best way to invest. I don't need to. All of the data shows that over long periods of time, i.e. 30 to 40 years, there is literally no better way to invest your money. In other words, this is how you grow your money over time, and you need to grow your money, otherwise inflation will ruin you financially. So you can either accept index funds as being the best and get started ASAP, or you can ignore all of the data and go about using your money however you see fit. It's a free world, and if you're someone who is willing to ignore the data, then it's simply not worth my time trying to convince you otherwise. I say this because many people, for one reason or another, just don't pay attention to what the data is saying. Despite index funds being the optimal investment for 99.9% of the population, a lot of people choose to put their money elsewhere. Different people will have different reasons for doing so, but what I've found from hearing many of those reasons is that people get fixated on one particular element of index fund investing that they don't like, or one particular element of another form of investing that they really like, and they allow that to completely cloud their judgment. Bottom line, investing in index funds for 30 to 40 years is the best investment decision you can make outside of investing in your pension. End of story. I'm not going to entertain any conversations around penny stocks, cryptocurrencies, or NFTs when it comes to investing the bulk of your money. Those are gambles, not investments. So you shouldn't be putting serious money into them, if any at all. As for how much you should invest in index funds, the answer is always going to be as much as possible. And what that number looks like is going to vary from person to person. But I would be encouraging you to invest as much as you can, as often as you can, and to increase the size of your investments over time as your income increases. If you want to learn more about picking index funds to invest in, check out the video popping up on screen after this one. And if you're looking for a brokerage platform in order to start investing in index funds, check out the links in the description of this video where you can try out multiple platforms for free. So we've maximized our pension contributions, we've chosen the best bank, we've paid our essentials, we've covered our emergency fund, we're paying down any high interest debt that we may have, and we're investing in index funds. It's only at this stage that we can look at fund money. Fund money is effectively any money that's left over after accounting for the other high priority allocations on your list. And we can use this money to indulge in the likes of those nice to haves from earlier if we so choose. Make no mistake about it. If you're really serious about optimal money management and you take the necessary steps to demonstrate that, you're going to have less fund money than you do now. And you'd be surprised just how many people think they can have both. You can't. There has to be some level of sacrifice. But is it really a sacrifice? Yes, you'll have less money to spend on takeaways, alcohol, and expensive clothes. But is that really a bad thing? Can you not see how that's actually a positive outcome? Nobody is asking you to live in squalor all in the name of being more optimal with your money. It's simply a case of cutting out the unnecessary expenses and redirecting those savings towards value adds like your pension or index funds. And what's great about fund money is that it's the best metric for what you can actually afford, not what you can afford using half your bank account or by taking on unsecured debt, but what you can afford after you've allocated your paycheck to the places that matter most. So that's 7 places that your money needs to go. As we established, your pension is among the most important places for your money to be allocated. Because of that, you need to hear how the future of pension investing is changing for Europeans right now. Check out this next video popping up on screen for more information. I'll see you soon.